Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Strong Draws. My name is Brett Strong, and today I thought I'd try something a little different here. What I'm going to do today is work on a panel from a comic book submission I'm doing for DC Comics. For those who haven't heard, they are holding a talent hunt, search, workshop kind of thing. And so I figured, what the hell, let's give it a shot. Try and enter that, see if I can't get in that way. So, what you see here is page 3 of 5, and as you can see, it's pretty much laid out at this point. The second panel is finished. I haven't. The third panel I haven't done any work on quite yet, but I got everything else kind of laid out here. So I thought we'd do a panel. Depending on how long it takes, maybe get into another one, but I'm gonna try not to make this too long and boring. But I thought, I've been doing these tutorial videos, and I just thought I'd kind of walk you through kind of what I do pretty much every day. So what I figure is we'll work on this panel down here. Panel, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So what I'm going to do for now is to shut off all these other layers, just because it kind of helps me focus here. We'll work on this punching scene where Mr. Haley from Haley Circus is punching out, I guess, Tony Zuko. So, kind of what I do from here. Like I said, I already got it laid out and roughed in here, kind of where I want everything. I might move stuff here or there as we go along. My first step, though, is, like, I'll even shut off the panels here for a little while, is to turn this blue, and I have that set to hotkeys on my computer. I'll lock this layer because I have a tendency sometimes to draw on layers I don't want to draw on, so if you lock it, you don't have that problem. And then I'll do just kind of a rough layer. Sometimes this turns into a finished pencil layer. It kind of depends on how it comes along. So, rotate here, and we'll start in on Mr. Haley's head here. So kind of the idea is you see all these sped up videos, and people tend to think people actually draw that fast, and it doesn't always work that way. So since we're kind of got a low angle here on Haley, you'll be seeing like the underside of his nose. His eyes will be lower to his, almost right on top of his nose here, just because of the angle we're looking up at him at. We'll have him kind of grimacing and gritting his teeth. Now a lot of these lines I'm putting in are just for construction purposes. They don't really transfer to the final drawing usually. It's just reference points for me, so I know where everything is and make sure that I constantly reminded of the shape of things. See if I can hit the right. I can't hit the right buttons. Let's try this. There we go. I'm gonna actually move his mouth down a little bit. He's got this big mustache in here. Give him this big curly Q mustache. For some reason, if you guys have ever seen Moulin Rouge, used to, for whatever reason, really dug that movie. Can't remember the character's name. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But the character that, I guess it would have been Nicole Kidman's pimp, is kind of the inspiration for Haley. For some reason, he always, reminded me of the ringmaster at a circus, which I guess he kind of was if you watch that movie to an extent. Alright, so he's obviously very mad at this guy, so we want to have him with a furrowed brow, a little bit older, so you'll have some crow's feet here. So anyway, time I get this uploaded sometime next week, you can actually go, you'll be able to go check these pages out on my Facebook page, because I plan to submit them hopefully tomorrow. I'm planning to get this page done today, and I'm just doing pencils. Whenever, at least from what I've heard, I guess, is whenever you're submitting to a company or you're submitting to anybody to get work, only submit what you want to do. So if you want to be a penciler, just submit pencils. If you want to be a colorist, just submit colors. If you want to be an inker, just submit inks. Don't do any extra work that you don't want to do for whatever respective employer you're looking at. And so since I'm just looking to be a penciler, that's all I'm focusing on, and all I'm doing here is just doing the pencils. So there's no inks to this, there'll be no colors, there'll be no word balloons in the final product either way. But if I do my job correctly as a penciler, everything should be able to be kind of told or inferred from just the pencils and just the storytelling. There might be a few things unclear here or there that dialogue balloons would help out, but for the most part you should be able to get the gist of the story if I've done my job correctly. So now, since he's punching across, his forearm is actually going to be behind his upper arm here. Actually, might be a little too long for what I'm looking for here. So it's going to go back into space along with this fist. So it's going to kind of fall behind like so. Now again, I'm just kind of doing the rough parts of this. I'm not too worried about getting everything just perfect yet. This is the part of the process where I move things up, move them around, move them down, twist them. Just kind of go with my initial feelings and thoughts on the matter and try not to think too much about the final product to an extent. You want to always keep in mind where you're headed, but at the same time, the quicker you can kind of get stuff down on paper and out of your head and whatnot, the better. Because at a certain point, the more you refine it, the more you look at it, the more you mess with it, the more technically proficient and hopefully the tighter the anatomy will be. But the problem is, the more you refine it and the more perfect you get it, the less energy and life it tends to have, just because it's everything's a little bit off. Nothing's perfect in life. So if you can get it down as quickly as possible, just kind of go with your gut, trust what you've learned, the more interesting your artwork will look. And I find sometimes if I sit and look at it too long or mess with it too long, stuff starts looking goofy to me, even though it's correct. Kind of like when you're sometimes when you're trying to figure out how to spell a word and you misspell it the first time, and maybe this is just me, but you misspell it the first time, so then when you finally spell it correctly, it still doesn't look right. Kind of how drawing is for me. If I just kind of go with it and trust what I know and what I've learned, the better it looks than if I were to sit and look at it constantly. it starts to look wrong, even though it's more often than not okay. So for that reason, also, you know, if you guys can, while you're working, if something's not really clicking with you, or you spent 12 hours, 5 hours, whatever, sitting staring at this thing, and you kind of, you know, it looks cool at first, and then the more you work on it, it starts to look you know, it doesn't look as cool before. Get up, get away from it for a little bit, and then come back to it a little bit later, see how that, see if it still looks kind of goofy for you, or if it looks cool again. Sometimes getting fresh eyes on it will help a lot. So you'll see me zoom in and out here. That's just kind of make, you know, let me reference, like I can already tell you right now his head's a little too big. So, the fun part of digital, I'm just going to go in here, make it just a bit smaller, we'll come back out. That looks better. Now it actually might be a little smaller than it should be, but it really pushes the dynamics with this, because kind of that, I guess the Jack Kirby kind of influence is, if you stretch it a little bit more, it makes it a little bit more dynamic. I mean, he did it quite a bit. I think I was watching a documentary about Jack Kirby where they were saying there was one guy, I don't even remember who it was, but he said if you look at Kirby's work, the hand in the foreground isn't in the same time zone as the hand in the background. So that's kind of a real good, I guess, description of how to make things look a little bit more dynamic. Sorry, I got a little. I'm kind of debating if I want his face at this angle or not, now that I'm looking at it. Because I kind of see in my mind what I want his face to be. I'm just debating whether that's the right angle I want or not. If I turn the... So I could take him... Let's see. This is kind of part of my process. I always keep refining. I know I want to get initial ideas in there. I'm on the wrong layer here. So actually I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to make a new layer here. I'm going to try something else here. Instead of having him kind of going down, I wonder if I put his face at an upward angle like this. Now, if I was doing this traditionally, what I would normally do, I'm going to turn the panels off here, is I would grab a piece of tracing paper, vellum, what have you, and sketch this on there and then light box it back on. But since I have, you know, working on the computer, I can just make a new layer. So turn his face up like this. Nah, don't really like that. So we'll go back to the original here and work from that. Get on the right layer here. I'm actually going to lock that. Alright. Alright, so now that he's looking kind of down, now do I want him... I got his face... Like I said, this is all part of the process for me, is just trying out different things. The problem is like, after a while I've drawn guys getting hit from this angle before. And after a little while, you know, you want to just try different stuff. So instead of drawing the same kind of guy getting hit that I've drawn a dozen or more times before, I want to try something different. Let's actually take him down closer to the bottom of the panel here. No, I don't like that either. Anyway, like I was saying, sometimes you draw the same thing over, you know, the same angles over and over. So to get better and to push yourself, you always want to try and think of things in a different way. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. In this case, I probably should just stick to what I'm confident in and confident about that I know I can do. And then experiment on a different project. Because like I said, you know, with what's going on and trying to get accepted into this whole workshop thing is kind of important, and it'd be really cool to have happen. So stick with what I'm comfortable with, and then I can always go back and experiment on other projects or other drawings. Change the angle of his jaw here. Have him kind of grimace a bit. Have him squint. Turn his nose up just a bit more here. Because, like I was kind of talking a little bit, if you saw my last video where we're talking about the torso, or even the human head, I did that one as well. As your body moves and changes position, the muscles change position and shape and all this good stuff. So that also applies to when you're drawing like a face. So when you're squinting like this, your nose crinkles up and this part of your nostril flares up a little bit more closer. I also want to say, if you guys hear like rattling around or something in the background, I don't know if my microphone's picking it up or not, but it's just because it is very windy outside, and I sit right next to the wall here, so you can actually hear the wind outside right now just blowing crap everywhere. So if you can hear that, I'm sorry. I can't really do much about that. Mother Nature seems to be pretty pissed off about something right now. Let me try something weird with his mouth here. Turn his cheek in like he's still feeling the force of that impact. I'm not sure if that'll work, but we'll give it a shot for now. Curl his lips up like this. And again, this is just the rough part. If this, you know, as you're drawing, you know, try different stuff. Again, if I was doing this traditionally, I'd be messing around with this kind of on vellum or tracing paper, and then transfer it to the final artboard. But always, I mean, I think I said in my last video too, you want to draw as much with your eraser, almost as much as you do with your pencil. So go ahead and just scribble in lines. If it doesn't work, or if it doesn't come out exactly right the first time, just, you know, you can always take lines away. I like this idea. I need to make it look like we're looking down at it. I almost want it to look like his jaw and his mouth, they're actually going the opposite direction of the rest of his face because he's got socked in the face so hard. Like if you ever seen a video or a slow motion of someone getting punched in the face, your skin and your head and your face do a bunch of weird stuff when somebody hits you that hard. I don't know from experience. I've never been punched in the face that hard. Usually it was by my brother. If anything, it would usually be by my brother, and he'd never hit me this hard, so. Like I said, if you watch those slow motion captures, their face does a lot of weird stuff when you get hit. Let me put some spit coming out of here. Let's turn it up right. Let's back it up. Take a look. See if I'm turn it around here. See if I'm even in the ballpark of kind of what I'm looking to do. Sorry, this is going to take a little bit. My computer takes a little bit to think about when it wants it to flip around. Which again, I got turning to blue line and flip canvas horizontal. I got those all mapped to hotkeys on my computer, which helps rather than having to go around and find them in the menus and all that good stuff. It doesn't look too terrible at this point. Might change it later, but for now it looks alright. So we'll flip it back around here. So like I said, we'll try and do this whole panel, or at least I may not do the rendering. I might just do the basic line work and add the shadows and stuff after I finish recording. But if you guys kind of like this idea or like seeing this, let me know. I'll try and do some more drawing in real time. Give him a bit of a furrowed brow as well. Alright, we'll turn him kind of normal here. Got his chest, collarbone. The reason I like to turn the panels off is because sometimes they throw me. I end up not drawing a line as where it needs to go or something because I'm trying to avoid hitting the panel for some reason, or I'm trying to avoid tangents, which ironically enough wouldn't exist if I wasn't trying to avoid that line. So it just kind of helps me keep, I can kind of draw through where the panels are going to go without having to worry about trying to avoid them and making that kind of mistake, which it shouldn't really make a difference, but for some reason it's a roadblock I have in my brain. So that's kind of where his shoulder will be. Got his back in here. And now at this point, turn the panels back on and see how much I actually have to worry about drawing. Maybe let's rotate him. A bit more like that. Move him over. And I can make him actually probably a little bit bigger. Really want to sell the impact of this punch here. Let's turn Mr. Haley back on here. See, now I'm getting a tangent between his back and chin. Actually, I could probably take good old Haley here and turn him a little bit. Make him just a bit bigger. Back it up here. Just kind of erase some of all this stuff here. Let's see what this cropping looks like once all that crap's out of the way. And see, here's what I'm thinking is because Haley's almost. Nope. straight across in the panel like that, it loses some of its dynamics. Makes it look a little too plain and straight and even and clean. So if we bring these guys down, rotate them, maybe this way. I can make them even a bit bigger again. Not quite so. About right there. Because also at the same moment, I'm also, referencing what I did in these other panels, which if I turn back on, you can see in the previous panel we're kind of, he's threatening him or whatever here. We got Batman in the background, but we got kind of this up angle going on. And we're kind of got this diagonal looking down this way. So if I rotate it to kind of make it go the other way, we also get the kind of this illusion of the same angle. And if you look at the last panel, we got, if it turns itself on, there we go. This last angle here, or this last panel, we got Haley kind of telling the guy off after he obviously walked away. You kind of get this Z pattern, and with his finger pointing will lead you to the next page. So the storytelling is a little bit stronger that way. And I can leave area up here for word balloons as well. So I think I'm going to leave it. I think I like that way better. You get a bit of the dynamics, and you also need some open space, like I said, for word balloons and what have you. And it also kind of, again, follows the angle of the previous panel and keeps it a little more dynamic. So let's see how that looks. Alright. So I'm overall I'm happy with that. Although I do want to put Haley's other fist in here. I don't want to lose that because it creates kind of a nice bit of a balance, I guess. So what I'm going to do is take it, rotate it a bit, maybe make it a little bit smaller. Leave that in the background, and we'll move Haley up just a hair, just so I can get that fist in there. So again, you get this up angle, but you also get this, I guess by doing that, by keeping him a little bit higher, you get this feeling that this guy's being knocked to the ground rather than just back. Alright. Okay, I'm cool with that. I think that's what I'm going to stick with here. So we'll go in here now, and I'm going to take out anything not belonging to that guy and erase it out there. Merge these layers together. Turn it blue again. Lock it, and make a pencils layer. Then we'll go through and pencil this thing out. Now, kind of what I was saying earlier is with the more you refine something, kind of the more life you tend to take out of it, more the spontaneity. So even at this point, I actually almost speed up a little bit, just because trying to keep that energy in there. And I find by throwing lines faster like this, you tend to keep that a little bit more. And also, again, being digital, I don't have to worry about paper integrity and erasing. So, and also again, you know, it's just kind of trusting your gut and trusting what you can do and what you know. And again, if it doesn't come out right, you can always erase. So I plan to get back to the tutorials hopefully the following week after I post this one here. I think next we're going to cover arms and stuff. You know, I enjoy doing the tutorials, but the thing is like I don't like making my video. Not that I don't like. I guess I don't want to make my videos too long because I know sometimes I think I've even mentioned before they're a little hard to get through if they're too long. Get his hair in here. So there's so much to cover. I mean, just and anatomy in general that it's hard to know what to cover exactly. Like, I mean, I can show you basic structure of the arm and whatnot, but once you turn it and change, you know, everything kind of changes. Like, you know, drawing this kind of arm punching, I wouldn't. It's just something I wouldn't think to really show anybody, unless that's what they're trying to draw. I mean, it's one of those things where sometimes necessity creates kind of a need for knowledge, I guess. Because most people, when they want to draw, you know, superheroes or something, it seems like they want to do these hero poses. And a lot of the time that doesn't involve someone getting punched in the face. And so I think if you want to, and that's why I've said before, and I'll say it again, if you want to become a comic book artist or a better artist in general, comic book or otherwise, just a better illustrator, if you just mess around with drawing comics, I think it can be real beneficial to you, just because when you have to draw page after page of the same character, you're not, you know, or not even the same character, but when you have to tell a story with images, it forces you to have to draw stuff in a way that you wouldn't think of normally drawing something. Because again, I don't think I would ever have learned how to draw somebody getting punched and drawing this arm at this angle if I wasn't drawing comics. And, you know, maybe as an artist you don't, you know, and it doesn't even have to be that per se, like, but, you know, not every artist wants to draw somebody getting punched in the face. But it forces you to have to study anatomy and posture and posing and gesture in a way that you've never had to think of it before, which is why I don't really enjoy drawing pinups quite so much anymore. Looks like he's got a short sleeve shirt on. So, because it's just, you know, drawing those same poses over and over again gets kind of boring for me. I mean, it's nice to have a treasure chest, if you will, of standard poses. Hang on a sec here, guys. I think so that when it, because we all have to draw pretty pen up and covers and all that eventually. So I'm happy I have a a treasure chest again, if you will, of standard superhero poses or hero shot poses in my head, and the confidence to execute that. But the real fun is doing this kind of stuff for me, is telling a story and finding the best way to tell that story. This is more fun for me than I can sit and I can draw pages for hours and hours, and I do sit and draw pages for hours and hours, and I don't really get bored of it. I do get burnt out every once in a while. I'm actually kind of noticing lately is I've kind of been hitting a little bit of a wall to where I need to take a little bit of a break, I think. I'm going to try and do that this weekend. I do have to work my day job, but overall, I don't think I'm going to draw too much this weekend. I might sketch a little bit. Andrew, no, that's right. Just because, again, I sit and I do this 10, 12 hours a day. You do need a break every now and then. Just to kind of recharge your batteries and what have you. And to be quite honest, this one fist back here, I may have to look up some reference for. That's the other thing is, if you're bored or if can't sleep at night. For me personally, I've been having a lot of issues sleeping recently. So what I do is I sit or lay in bed at night when I can't sleep, and then I'll look up reference photos. I'll look up comic book artwork of some of my favorite artists, and sometimes I'll look up the same artists over and over and just do a Google search of their work and just look at it over and over and over again. And what it does for me is if I ever need reference for anything, I guarantee there's an artist out there that has drawn something similar to what I'm looking for. And eventually I start to memorize the pieces of the artists I've been looking at. And so I can always, if I'm having trouble, like I said, I'm going to look up some reference here real quick. So if I'm ever having problems where I need to look up reference, I have an idea of what artists I can go to. Or I'll look up, if you can find it in real life, photo reference, even better. If not, it's good to know somebody who you can go and look off of. You can try and reinvent the wheel. I'm not saying, steal, but, use, again, reference is the only way you're going to get better. Because you can either struggle and struggle and struggle until you finally get it right or just give up. Or you can find someone who's done it before, see what their approach was, and kind of just adjust it to your style or your needs. Just put the rest of the hand here. I don't know if you probably wouldn't see a thumb at that angle. looks alright. So I got Haley wearing these suspenders here. Just make them black here. Now, folds in clothing is another big issue people seem to have. It's something I kind of struggle with still to this day, where I will look up reference or whatnot. The awkward part comes as far as reference goes. Sometimes I can't shut my brain off from this drawing mode, and so I'll be, excuse me, need a drink there. Sometimes I'll be at work, or I'll be out in a bar, which I don't do too much anymore. But if I'm playing with my band, I'll be out in a bar, or just out in the grocery store, or wherever I am, movie theater. And I'll see somebody wearing trench coat, or baggy jeans, or a cool t-shirt, or especially like women I tend to notice this more on, because when drawing guys, you can pretty much get away with jeans and a t-shirt or a suit or what have you. But I'll be out, like I said, I'll be out somewhere and I'll see somebody, like I said, generally a woman, wearing a interesting piece of clothing, or a, whatever. And I'm trying to study the way the folds in their clothes are, or, try to memorize kind of what they're, just the clothing they're wearing, because I think it's interesting. And so I kind of drift off into my own little world, and I'm focusing on them like I would a photograph that I'm studying for reference, and you catch you staring at them like that, because you kind of look a little creepy, kind of just leering at them. I've gotten some pretty weird reactions from people for doing that, and it's hard to explain to them. No, I'm not staring at you because of how you look. I actually like your shirt or whatever. I'm an artist. I'm just, well, and you can't say, I'm just trying to memorize what your clothes look like to lock it away in my brain for later use. That doesn't come across too well either. So, but anyhow, folds in clothing. I went on a weird tangent there. Kind of what I tend to do is I don't really overall, I don't know, sometimes, but especially when we're doing movement or whatever, I focus more on just it wrapping, the way it's going to wrap, and the lines that it's going to cause, rather than the actual rather than actually, I guess, how it would technically work in real life. I use them to actually accentuate a form or a figure, kind of like cross-hatching, but with the folds in the clothes. I think John Romita Jr. pretty much, that's kind of his style of doing folds in clothing. Not always, but like with Haley here, you can see how these folds kind of wrap with him, which they would technically, but they're not. That's probably not really how they'd wrap. I find some of the pinch points up on his shoulder or down on his hip where his belt would be holding up his pants and whatnot. But mainly I'm just thinking of how they'd wrap, like with this guy up here even. Like I did put this little shape in here which kind of looks cool, but mostly it's just to show that there's bunching and wrapping of the figure and give the figure a little bit more shape and volume. Maybe not the best way to do it. I don't know. I like the way it looks, and it helps me kind of give a little bit more sense of mass to my characters, or you know, I can accentuate the shape a little bit more. So it's just kind of, it's a style choice. Everybody does it a little bit differently, and that's just the way I kind of like to do this. Might want to make this a little, come out just a little bit further. I'll cut this. Show kind of where his upper lip would be going here. Really swing out his lower lip here. To bring his jaw down just a little bit more. Now this is actually the only time you see the front of this guy. So I'm not having to worry too much about keeping it similar to another panel or anything. Kind of a trick I do is if you're drawing a book with the same character over and over again, where they don't wear a mask like Batman or something, I like to give them some kind of distinguishing feature on their face, or give them unique eyebrows or something. It's just something that will stay, that easily can stay consistent. So no matter what, you can always tell who it is. Like I said, this thug just, you know, he's, and this is, you know, and this ain't an ongoing story that I'm working on. It's just this 5-page submission that I'm done. So, but like with Mr. Haley, you got the big mustache, you got this curly hair, and he's kind of bigger dude. So he doesn't, like, he kind of looks like he does there, but not. No, I guess he looks pretty close. I mean, close enough, but because of the hair and the mustache, you really don't notice too, you know, your brain has enough information to put together who it is. But I find, you know, with like women and whatnot, I have a, generally speaking, I will whoever my main character is will be my standard version of a woman. Just because that way I don't really have to think too much when drawing her from panel to panel. Because she's just the woman I draw all the time, or even guys. You know, we all have that one default character we draw all the time. I'll make this a little more wavy. Look like his skin's just flapping all over the place from the impact of this punch here. Mess with his nose a little bit here. Give it a little more curve here. Alright. Let's take a step back, kind of see how that looks here. Turn off the blue lines. Looks kind of gnarly. Let's flip it around, take a look at it. So we're getting close to about the hour mark here. Probably won't go into shading and rendering in this video. I might keep recording and continue it on afterwards, do a second part. If you guys like this one and you want to see me take it to, or go through the final product, I'll record it. If you guys are interested in seeing it, let me know, and then I can I'll post it up later. I wonder what happened if I drop this eye down just a little bit more here. I wonder how that would look. Put that right about there. Yeah, I kind of like that better. So just let me know what you guys think. Do you like, do you prefer the sped up video kind of thing, where you can see the process in, about 10 minutes, or in my case, usually generally about 15 minutes, but I do get a lot more done in that 15 minutes than I am now. Or do you prefer seeing the full process videos, or would you like to see a little bit of mix of both? I've been, kind of tinkering with the idea of doing, half and half, where I'll start a drawing and then we'll speed it up for part of it, and then I'll slow it down at certain points. So, like I said, let me know what you guys think. I can, for some reason it's easier to fill up time talking while I'm working than doing the voiceover afterwards. So. Do not like his jawline here, so I'm going to fix that. Let's bring it around like there. Let's pull back, see how that looks. So I mean, that looks a little bit better. Since he is getting punched in the jaw, his jaw would be a little bit off anyway, like, just because of that impact. Again, go watch, if you haven't seen someone get punched in the face in slow motion, either a boxer or otherwise, go search out a video. It's an interesting, it's obviously pretty brutal to see, but if you go into it for maybe not sadistic pleasure, rather than I guess to some sense academic curiosity, which I guess would kind of be a morbid curiosity to some extent. It is actually very interesting to see how the face actually reacts when being punched. Or if you haven't seen the movie Dread, which if you haven't seen that, go watch that anyway. It's a fun, brutal movie. Great comic book film. They do a lot of cool stuff, which, again, if you haven't seen the movie, I guess I won't probably spoil too much, but he's after a character that's selling a drug called Slow-Mo. Is it Slow-Mo? I think so. It's been a while since I've seen it. Where you take a hit off of an inhaler, and when you get high, it slows everything down. At least your perception slows down to like 1% of the speed of time. So everything goes in slow motion. And they do a lot of scenes, or maybe quite a few scenes of people on these drugs getting in their perception of when they get shot or beat up, and it's all in slow motion. It's really kind of cool. Which I'm fairly certain I'm not digging that. Fairly certain it was just all air cannons, and then they added the blood and bullet holes later, obviously in CG. But it was just really genius the way they did it. I thought made it really kind of cool and different. Alright, so the guy he's a gangster, so have him wearing a suit here. So kind of get this collar of his shirt. This is wrong here. The collar of his jacket here. The collar of his shirt and collar of his jacket. Got his tie in here. His tie coming out. That. This. I think his suit will follow up here like this. Again, collar, collar. Alright, and the spit I'll add in, the spit, blood, whatever coming out of his mouth, I'll actually add in a bit later. Again, I'll do that on a different layer. If you guys, if you don't have a tablet and you don't draw digitally, and you want to kind of mimic this process, like I said, every time you see me or I talk about making a new layer is basically when I was working traditionally. What I would do is go and draw on a piece of tracing paper or vellum, you know, any kind of transparent paper, and then light box and transfer it over later. Okay, a couple crinkles of his nose here. Wiggling line of his face being twisted. Alright. Well, we're right at that, almost that hour mark there. So I think I'm going to call it done for this video. Let me fix his jaw here real quick. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So, you know, if you like these process videos, or you see me do this in real time, let me know. Again, I'm going to keep the camera or the video going here, and I'm going to finish up the rendering and shading and all that stuff, and I'm gonna add in focus lines and again the spit and all that good crap in here, make it look real gnarly. So again, if you guys like these videos, let me know. I'll get that one posted up if it's something you're interested in. Otherwise, like I said, if you want to see these all 5 finished pages, you can check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Links are in the description below. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for hanging out for me. Again, I know it's an hour-long video, but let me know what you think. If you just want to see this process, but broken down over episodes, you know, over a couple different videos, I might do it that way. But for right now, I think what I'm going to do is just upload this, see what you guys think, and let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Have a good day.